Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Are you convinced? You know, the leftist media is trying to paint this narrative as if it's so atrocious, it's so shocking that those evil, terrible Republican voters still stand by Donald Trump. You know, moments like these from yesterday's press conference.
And then on the big news of this afternoon, First Lady Joe Biden said it's a little shocking that many Republicans support Donald Trump after his indictment. What has President Biden said? Was he also shocked? Does he agree with his plight?
I'm just not going to comment on anything that's related to the indictment. We're just going to be very mindful here and respect the Department of Justice. Let them do their job.
Do you have a comment on these awful Republican voters who feel unmoved after former President Glorf has been indicted on criminal charges? You know, that's the narrative they're trying to paint. And when I see moments like this, I just see a bunch of mainstream media toddlers throwing a tantrum. They simply can't handle the fact that their narrative is falling flat and that we're not buying it. How has Donald Trump's reputation not been destroyed yet? No! We've worked so hard to attain this goal. Well, maybe if you had, I don't know, a shred of your reputation left, an ounce, a smidge of credibility, maybe if you were able to actually put the case in front of us coherently, maybe that wouldn't be the case. But of course that isn't the case at all. Instead, what we get are moments like these from MSNBC, which really put it all into perspective. Let me show you guys exactly what I mean by that. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, most important question, the first words of the video. Are you convinced yet? Well, how could something like this possibly convince you? Here's Andrea Mitchell during MSNBC's coverage Arraignment.
Colleagues, sort of their knee-jerk reactions to all of this, to attack the prosecutor the way Donald Trump is, to attack Joe Biden, and to say that it's all the same as Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, Mike Pence, although they're not going after Mike Pence in the same way. I mean, the difference here is that these 31 specific counts, these counts had nothing to do with 37 counts, but they had nothing to do with more than 100 other of these documents that were held and retained by him.
How could you possibly question that kind of legal argument? I mean, she argued that case just immaculately. Obviously, you can sense the sarcasm. This is what happens when these leftoid fools try to make an actually sound legal argument. Oh, Donald Trump is guilty, espionage act, or I don't know, something. At some point, she seemed to slyly discredit the correlation, or I guess the contrast between Biden, Pence, and Clinton and their handling of classified documents in respect to Donald Trump, kind of indirectly making this assumption that there's no comparison here, that Donald Trump is far more guilty than they are, and that you're comparing apples to oranges. She tries to make that argument without actually saying anything relevant. In other words, she didn't make an argument at all. She's just saying it, and the MSNBC NPCs are blindly following along. Yeah, there's no comparison. Oh, here's the great argument. If there was a comparison, then why is it that Donald Trump is being indicted and nobody else is? Ho-ho! Freaking genius! That's essentially what Andrea Mitchell and most of these leftoids that I'm seeing on Twitter are saying. Well, why is it that Mike Pence hasn't been charged and Donald Trump is being charged? Well, maybe it has something to do with the fact that Mike Pence is just kind of irrelevant and useless. Another establishment pawn as he's outed himself. Maybe he's not a threat to the Democrat establishment or the uniparty establishment like Donald Trump is, and so there's no real incentive to go after him. If you think about it, there should be more reason to go after the vice president holding classified information than there would going after the president, considering the Presidential Records Act explicitly states that those documents are his possession, belong solely to him, they're his presidential records, but we're not going to go in circles with that. I don't know, maybe, just maybe, these leftoids, as they make these, I guess, perceived genius legal arguments and points, well, maybe they aren't making the point that they think they're making. Maybe that's the freaking problem. Maybe that's why nobody trusts you. You have it backwards. They're using the double standard and the corruption at the Justice Department to justify the double standard and corruption. It's an intelligence travesty. These leftoids can never form a coherent argument. Trump's guilty of espionage. How? Why? Well, did you read the indictment? Did you read the document? Ignorant MAGA chud. Right, I get he's being charged with espionage, violating the Espionage Act, but how exactly is he guilty of it? Oh, read the transcript, uneducated, backwards MAGA chud. That's not an argument. I mean, even during that MSNBC clip that I played earlier, the final frame, 31 counts of willful retention of national defense information, the Espionage Act. So I guess the standard is now a president simply holding his own documents makes him a spy. No destruction of property. He didn't handle these documents with negligence, put them at risk of possibly landing in the hands of our foreign enemies. The whole Espionage Act and the word espionage being applied here is itself a form of propaganda. It's meant to target the uninformed. It's meant to target the gullible. I mean, if we hold everyone to the same standard as Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton had a private email server, which could have easily been hacked by foreign adversaries. Many of her emails were, in fact, hacked and released through WikiLeaks. Joe Biden had classified documents next to his Corvette in his garage. The idea that you're going to convince me that Donald Trump is guilty of espionage, it's just never going to happen. What's really happening here, the only word that comes to mind is weaponization. It's not just the weaponization of the DOJ, it's the weaponization of the Espionage Act itself, an act that is purposely vague, which the government can use to twist and take down their political opponents. He's also being charged with 1 count of false statements and representations. Right. I'm sure that can never apply to Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden. 1 count of withholding a document or record, 1 count of conspiracy to obstruct justice, 1 count of concealing a document in a federal investigation, 1 count of scheme to conceal. Donald Trump was concealing and withholding evidence and documents while he was actively in communication with NARA, the National Archives and Records Administration. In a back and forth over these documents, they knew every single document that he was in possession of, but he was concealing them and withholding evidence and obstructing justice. The issue here is that Donald Trump felt it was in his right to hold those documents. They were his presidential records. He viewed them as his possession, but the all-powerful government and government agencies, who view themselves as a higher power than the president himself, viewed those documents as theirs. I guess there was a possession disagreement, and Joe Biden's corrupt DOJ viewed this as an opportunity to get Donald Trump by any means necessary. And nobody can truly disprove that. Whenever these leftoids try to make a coherent argument as to why this whole thing is justified, well, the hilarity ensues. These people are a joke. We see right through them. In my opinion, it's all going to backfire, even if they manage to somehow get this case to move forward, which it probably will. The American people clearly don't view it as serious, and the case is obviously going to drag on and on and on. It's not like Donald Trump next week is going to be put in federal prison behind bars and unable to run for president. He's going to run for president. He's going to use this as ammunition. He's probably going to run on his own pardon. At this point, who you vote for in the next election is almost life or death. Do you support this incredibly corrupt system, this Banana Republic clown show, or do you vote for the guy who has incentive to dismantle it, to take on the corruption from within? People are going to have to ask themselves that very question, and I guess we'll have to see exactly where it goes. I know it's pretty much the same thing every election season. This is the most important election, the most pivotal election in American history. Well, it seems like that statement rings true, and you are there once again. That's what I got for you guys, though. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Of course, you know that we'd love to have you here. Thanks for watching, folks, and I'll see you on the next one.